food service slash retail food for, I don't know, $100. So those fees were prepared because obviously we're trying to be equitable for the different types of establishments that we go into. So with the fees that we particularly focus on, the ones that, you know, are very common, obviously we have to renew the food establishments. We have to renew anything that we license for beaches, for tanning, for septic systems, for trash haulers. All of those, we have a renewal process. So those obviously would be something that we're using every day. You know, we wouldn't necessarily have a beaver permit every day, you know. So there's some that are not going to be as common. So we wanted to kind of get the conversation, you know, at least looked at to see, are you comfortable with where we're at? I think it's, you know, it's been a decent amount of time since we've looked at it, and I don't think the process is going to happen overnight. So we would be looking at probably 2018, you know, I would imagine, before we got something together. But at least, you know, we may go quicker than that, but at least we can hear from you whether or not you think the fees are kind of in line with the other towns.
I could surmise and I could guess, but what specific are your top 5 as far as time commitment? Permit comes in. What are the top 5 items that take up the most of your staff's time?
So definitely food.
New food? Existing?
Existing, not as much. Anytime there's a new establishment, obviously proposed, we spend a lot of time with that initial, you know, just the first phone call even, you know, just to get the start.
Again, you've got a lot of, you know, different kind of food permits that we have listed here.
So we actually, as part of that, we actually added a file, a review fee. So when we have a new establishment, we actually do a review fee because we're trying to at least capture some of the time that Eileen is spending.
I want to say that we may also have a minor and a major renovation fee, which I don't think we're always utilizing, but we're going to start.
Re-inspection fee too.
Going to start utilizing now. So even the other permits that aren't new establishments, they require 2 mandatory inspections per year in any complaint inspection. So, you know, we have some establishments that potentially could have 4 or 5 complaints a year. They're getting 6 to 8 inspections per year.
So that's what I would almost want to focus on is you may only get 1 or 2 permit requests for a specific thing a year, but it takes up 80 hours of work time. You know, that would be something that I would want to look at. Obviously, the sheer volume of the food establishments is probably taking up 80% of your day.
My day? Yes.
Absolutely.
So, you know, there's kind of curious as far as should we just look at everything or...
So I do think that's a good way to, you know, to kind of focus our efforts, and we can certainly prioritize. I mean, I know the amount of time that Eileen spends on food, and just it's not just the establishments that are renewing or new establishments. There's a whole calendar of temporary events that she spends a lot of time on, and a lot of weekend and night hours that, you know, I mean, these events are happening, there's fundraisers, you know, during off times. It's not going to fit into Monday through Friday when we're open. So
and there's the whole education piece of it, which initially you spend a lot of time on, but in the long run, you don't have to spend as much time on inspections, re-inspections, and/or complaints because you spent all that time up front. So we really have been focusing on the last year and a half on educating our food establishments, our food workers, and more so our temporary people, because they repeat. The same events are run every year. If you get a good core of people that are running them events and you educate them,
Mhm.
the next year it becomes more simplistic and
I mean, I'd
streamlined.
really like to focus on the things that are, when you've got 100 food events going on in a year, takes all that time. A beaver permit,
Right.
Right. Well,
is that a
yeah.
rubber stamp thing? Here it goes, bring it to the,
Um,
a residential,
Yeah, actually-
No.
No,
Casella? You
a
know,
beaver permit can actually take a good amount of time.
Yeah.
But we do, I mean, I think we've done enough of them where we do have a protocol.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We're comfortable with knowing
Yeah.
when we're going to have to be involved or when we need to refer it to the state. So by the time that we bring that request to you,
Yeah,
we kind of already have an understanding of what we need to
Yeah.
provide you for advisement
Right.
and site visits.
Right.
So you as the board obviously has the authority to make the decision, but we want to bring you all the information so that you can make an
Yeah.
informed decision.
and I don't know, Carol, what your thoughts are. Should we just look at the fee schedule with a broad brush and say, let's round it up $5 by a 3% increase across the board, or just look at specific line items, or?
Well, was there any,
And-
I'm curious, was there anything when you looked at this, comparing it to others? When I looked at it quick, I didn't see anything huge. I mean, was there anything that was glaringly out of whack with other towns? I mean, some towns are really pricey, I guess, compared to others, but
Yeah.
was there anything that you were like, wow, we've just really been undercharging ourselves? That caught your eye?
I think that one of the ones that come to mind is camps and beach. You know, I think we, you know, it's there are certain things that we take a lot of time to do and to try to make sure we have that correct. The other area is rubbish permits. You know, we haven't. I don't think that amount has been changed in a long time. And we spend a lot of time trying to make sure that the haulers that are in town that are, you know, when building permits are pulled, making sure that, you know, the staff is getting a licensed hauler, you know what I mean? We spend a good amount of time on that. Those might be areas, and obviously Title V.
Yeah.
Title V, I don't know that we're extremely low on, but we'd want to just compare those. So food, septic, trash, and then, you know, kind of our permits that require some oversight on, that are not, I can't say I rubber stamp anything, so,
Right.
it's
Right.
not
Well,
always.
somebody comes in for a day permit for Casella tipping, or not,
Yes,
the transfer
yeah.
station. Does Casella still own that?
Yeah, so
Okay.
Casella is at 15 Howard Scrabble.
Yeah,
Yep.
right, you know.
So there is a
it's
day pass
A day
available.
pass, you know,
Yep.
and that's kind of where I'm
Correct.
thinking, is that a
Sure.
rubber stamp kind of?
Mhm.
Or, but anyway,
Straightforward, yes.
yeah,
It sounds like you've, between the food and those other kind of items, you've
Mhm.
identified where you want to concentrate. And then B, it sounds like your next question is, so do you broad stroke like a percentage across
Yeah.
the board, or do you look at each one individually?
Might be able to come up with a recommendation.
Yeah, I really think that you do need to match them to your surrounding communities.
Yeah.
well, why don't we, I don't recall seeing this in the package I got, maybe.
No, I got this the last meeting, and I
Oh,
saved
okay.
it and brought it to
Okay,
this
great,
meeting because I
great.
knew it was
Yes.
on the agenda.
So maybe if we can get that sent to me.
Sure.
and
Yeah.
Plan maybe a half-hour block for our next meeting.
Sounds great.
And I think, Carolyn, I think there's been changes to that as well.
Okay,
So I
okay.
think that we'll probably keep
Okay.
that, but we'll probably be
Okay.
sending out a revised one.
Okay, sounds
Awesome,
good.
thank you.
All right, so that sounds
So
good.
Paula categorized that, but I think that now I can
Just
put
a few
my
updates.
eyes on it
Perfect.
and really pull it in to try to keep your apples with apples
Yeah,
and make it look
yeah.
more like ours, so
Okay.
you have an easier time comparing.
Right.
Okay, sounds good.
And she was trying to give you as much information
Yeah,
as
no,
possible,
that was
but
great.
we obviously, we have it broken down, so it's categorized, you know,
Right.
so
Okay.
you start with all the food, then you go to, you know, your trash, your septic, and then all the smaller
Mhm,
permits. So we'll kind of try to break it down so that it's in the order of kind of what we need to
Okay.
focus on. So as you said, kind of like the top 5,
Yeah,
you know, we'll kind of give you an overview
Sure.
of where we're at.
Sure, and I mean, I certainly would be inclined to increase permits that is consuming more of the office time, as well as, do we really need to have such of a high permit fee for things that may not require so much office time,
Sure,
you know?
yeah, makes sense.
So I don't mind going down on a permit fee if it makes sense, as well as going up, so. But yeah, if we can block off a half hour for our
Okay.
next meeting, perhaps, three of us, we can review the information in advance of the meeting and
Yeah.
kind of have some ideas, and when you come in with your recommendations as well.
Okay, beautiful.
Any other questions?
Nope.
We'll move right along into
Along.
director issues.
Okay.
Thank you.
So for septic and well, we actually have quite a few projects that are ongoing that we're trying to wrap up before the snow flies. Just wanted to let you know it's always busy with septic and well. For housing, I think that I may have mentioned in the recent past, but I just wanted to just remind you that we do have several vacant properties being looked at by the AG's office. So we do have that program ongoing. We are focusing our attention on some of the ones that were of more complaints that we had received, and more concerns around, more immediate concerns surrounding that. So we should be able to provide a update for you hopefully by the next meeting. But it seems that of the about 5 or 6 that we had gone to with the AG's office within the past couple of months, they were acting upon those.
Okay.
So we'll be able to at least provide an update for you on that. We have several nuisance complaints going on, which is common. There's always some sort of trash complaints that we are addressing, housing complaints, and I just wanted to bring to your attention that's kind of an ongoing concern. So under animal control, I did want to let you know where we're at for animal control. I know Amy Contois, the animal control officer, has been at recent meetings. But right now we are at approximately 2,400 licenses. So we have just a little shy under that. So the licenses were due, and several earlier in the year, several reminders, several emails, social media contacts. She has done a whole host of trying to reach out to the public to try to make it easier for people to remind them about dog licensing. We also had a rabies and microchip vaccine clinic, if you recall, earlier in the spring. So at this point, we have citations that have been issued to about 400 to 500 people. So there have been many that have come in to pay, and at this point we are trying to reach out to the people that have been non-responsive to try to let them know what the next steps are. Some people have requested hearings, which are in the process of being scheduled at the courthouse. So again, trying to not use our resources for that, but sometimes we do have to go that route. So she is working hard to try to get as many owners to come in and license their dog before the end of the year. But I just wanted to let you know where we're at, about 2,400 licenses. Moving on to the Worcester Regional Tobacco Control Coalition. So the WRTCC, as you know, helps us with our routine inspections at the licensed tobacco facilities. And then they also do compliance checks. In your packets, we do have copies of some of the establishments for compliance checks. And we're hoping to be able to provide you with a listing of the establishments that have paid and addressed it. If you remember, we did, for renewal of licensing, we sent out educational information earlier this year to all of our tobacco retailers to remind them to make sure that they're, it's actually some nice template educational one-pagers on what to look for and what's acceptable and so forth. As part of what Eileen does out in the field when she does her routine inspections for food establishments that also sell tobacco, she's also looking for the proper signage and making sure that people have what they need as far as reminding the retailers to ask for IDs and so forth. Excuse me. So that's something that we are constantly doing as part of being part of WRTCC. We also received a request from them, and this is something that they have. So they work in our community, acting on behalf of Auburn. So as part of the regional coalition, they have asked if the board would officially designate them as tobacco inspectors. And so I do have I have a motion that can be read if you feel comfortable. It's something that I've reviewed, and it's more a matter of process, just to make sure that they have the authority to act on our behalf while they're out in our town. So it would be the only time that the board would have to do this. I think many years ago in the past you may have done this, but
A limited agent type of?
yeah, basically they're acting out there now. When they do a compliance check or they find something that may not be in order, they're reaching out to our office, and we're taking any action. So you'll see the letters and so forth, or educational information that we provide. So you'll see that in your packets. But this is more so making sure that they are working out in the community. Basically, they have authority from the board. So we have basically the motion by the Board of Health would read, we designate Megan DeNublia and Eric Jack as tobacco inspectors acting on behalf of the Board of Health, Town of Auburn, through the Worcester Regional Tobacco Control Agreement with the City of Worcester. So I can provide that for you. That is something that they would like to do, and honestly, I feel like the board has done something like this in the past. I think it's just been a number of years since it's been done. And Megan DeNublia and Eric Jack are the ones that actually do the actual work in town.
And they're doing all of our tobacco inspections or just the compliance checks?
They're doing both the routine
Yeah.
inspections to make sure that the minimum requirements are met. So with signage, making sure that tobacco is out of reach. Quite honestly, a lot of the same things that we're doing. So we reinforce the same requirements. Eileen and I actually shadowed them probably a couple years ago, when they did an inspection, so that we would actually know what the process was as well. So we do that same inspection, but as part of being part of the Worcester Regional Tobacco Control Collaborative, that is something that they do on behalf of,
So
all
it
the
would not
towns.
incur any other financial obligations on the part of the board.
there's no financial
Yes,
obligation, so we don't pay
Right.
a monetary amount
Mhm.
for these inspections. And on the flip side, they're able to, so the city of Worcester is able to apply for grants
Mhm.
with having several towns as part of the collaborative. So there are several towns within the Central Mass
Mhm.
area. I'm gonna say, does 13 sound right? I think it's about
Okay.
about that
So it-
amount. It could be a little bit less, a little bit more, but it's a significant amount of towns that belong to the
Right.
regional collaborative.
Right. So it just more formalizes
It
their
is.
role here in town,
That's correct.
so.
Yes. I don't
We've-
have concerns with having you make that motion.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, then you would entertain a motion?
The-
Okay. I would like to make a motion by the board to designate Megan Nuglia and Eric Jack as tobacco inspectors acting on behalf of the Board of Health, Town of Auburn, through the Worcester Regional Tobacco Control Agreement of the City of Worcester.
I'll second that.
Okay.
All in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Mhm.
All right, so the next update I wanted to provide you is solid waste. So for solid waste, we do have a new employee that started about a couple weeks ago. So her name is Erica Lucier, and she has joined our staff as part of a DEP grant.
Mhm.
So the grant was awarded to us for the purpose of trying to increase education and awareness around the amount of solid waste and recycling that is happening in town. So her title is a waste reduction enforcement coordinator, and that position actually is in place to try to get our trash tonnage down and increase recycling. So as you know, the town has an agreement for solid waste pickup and solid waste disposal. We pay two separate agreements, and the agreement for disposal is based on tonnage. So we have tonnage that occurs every week when they pick up trash curbside and bring it to Wheelabrator for incineration. So over the past 5 years, and this is, I'm just going to refresh you briefly, one of the reasons that we went with a recycling regulation earlier this year was part of this grant initiative to bring awareness to people. Over the past 5 years, our trash tonnage keeps going up, which increases the cost for the town for disposal. By having this person on board, this person works directly in the field. So Eileen and I have been out with Erica, and she has encountered a number of situations already for people just not knowing what to do, and so they add it to the trash toter when it may belong in recycling, or it may belong for bulk waste, or there may be another avenue for reuse, such as one of the big things is clothing. People, take a sock that has a hole in it and then they throw it in the trash. When in fact, you can take a sweater, you can take all sorts of textiles, take them out of the trash, in turn take the weight out of the trash and recycle them at one of the donation bins.
I always feel so weird doing that.
And so, and people do, and that's why there's so many textiles that end up in there, but they actually have, when those donation bins, and there's a million different types, but their purpose is to separate usable and non-usable textiles. So, you know, you put a nice sweater that maybe you don't wear anymore, you put it in the bin and it's in good shape. They're gonna reuse that, they're gonna put it in a separate pile to go to some sort of charitable or other purpose. And say you've got a stained sock with a hole in it, okay, so it's probably not going to be reused, but might go to the textile mill for making rags. So there's quite a bit.
Of, like a pair of shoes. You'd be amazed that they literally take apart the shoes. The rivets are used for something. The rubber soles are used for something else. The canvas is used for a third. Everything is like taken apart, disassembled, and put into another form to be used.
Into its next life.
Yes.
So
the plastic bags is the
that's
truck
the-
sticking.
Yep.
So that was interesting to find out, like our grocery bags are people's decks that you're walking on now. So
So we've talked about some of these things in previous meetings, and I don't want to bog you down too much, but I just kind of want to let you know, we've had glimpses of different topics that we brought up, and it all fits together. So there are many things that we can reuse and have another life for that you can actually take out of the trash.
Right.
If you take it out of the trash, you're taking the weight out of the trash and you're putting it into the lane that it can go into. That, along with the plastic bag discussion, because we had talked about Tristan Liberty had come regarding a plastic bag ban and some further discussion about that. So plastic bags in the recycling toter causes problems when it gets to places like Casella. It gums up their machinery. It gets caught into pieces, it breaks down pieces. So we want to get those bags out of the recycling and get them to your grocery store recycling bins. Or we actually have ordered, we don't have it yet, but Erica has ordered a container that we can put here for flexible film, plastic bags, and kind of the flexible film that you'd get, when you get the big huge thing of paper towels or toilet paper, all that material, that can actually be recycled. So we want to get education out so that people are aware that there's useful lives for these pieces. And as Eileen mentioned, we can collect all of that and send it back for free to Trex Decking, and then they make this composite deck out of it. So there's a lot of things that we need help doing. We're both very excited about it, and Erica allows us to be able to be out in the field, see what problems she's seeing, and then try to figure out how we need to educate the public and the residents for what they're doing and how we can improve that. So I just wanted to kind of let you know there's more information to follow.
Okay. How long is the grant?
We have the grant for about a year and a half.
Okay.
So we will have her, it's a part-time basis,
Sure.
obviously she's not full-time, but we utilize her, the minute she comes in, she's, off and running. So she's, a lot of times, literally she picks up her schedule and, our list of inspections that we may have made for her the day before, and she's out in the field. So that is giving us the eyes out there, and then she brings it back, and then we've got almost like discussions almost every day about, okay, here's what I found, okay, that's great, let's figure out how we can problem solve this. So I'd like to bring her to a future meeting for you to meet her, and I think we can do that, going forward. But
she's extremely passionate about recycling, so we're excited because she's bringing back things like on day 2, day 3. I'm out in the car with her, driving her around, and like her mind's just going, and she's seeing things that quite honestly, I drive by every day and don't notice. So there's many other things on my mind when I'm looking at a house, and she's just really tuned into it, so it's refreshing. It's refreshing to know that she's in a position that she really is passionate about and moving right along.
So the, if you do get a chance, I didn't bring one, I actually haven't seen it myself, but hopefully you got, we are going to start pushing out a lot of information in education now that we actually have somebody that can help. All these ideas that Eileen and I have swirled back and forth, we actually have somebody that will help put it to paper and get it in the works. But the Auburn account, the newsletter, the quarterly newsletter, we actually have 3 articles in there
Is that
on
out?
solid waste education. I think she sent it out.
Oh.
So if you can take a peek, there is a lot of solid waste. You know, there's something on plastic bags. There's something on recycling. We'll also have a mailer going out to all the residents as part of the DEP grant. DEP is paying to have us distribute education. So they're helping us do that. So more to follow on that. One thing I did want to just follow through here, for the plastic bag, the proposed ban or bylaw that was part of the discussion. So there is somebody that Tristan had spoken with from another town, I think it was Brookline if I'm not mistaken. They had offered to actually come to a board meeting. I think it was a fellow board member. He had actually, I think, been part of a plastic bag bylaw in his town, and so he knew we're kind of you know, wondering what it's about, how this is going to impact businesses, residents, and so forth. But he offered to come to a meeting, so that's something I wanted to put out to you, and I don't know how you feel about that, but it's something that we could invite him to a meeting in November or December. I know we usually kind of go light around the holidays.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so it might be something, you know, I wanted your thoughts or your input on it, but at least to let you know, it is something that I think,
Maybe the first of the year.
Yeah.
maybe January?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, after we've had a chance to see more of the
Okay.
program up and running
okay,
and what are the options.
okay.
Yeah.
All right, so I will, can you just make a note for January? Maybe, I'll propose some dates in January and see
Sure.
if he's able to do that, because that, if we got a draft bylaw that you were comfortable with, at least you could ask questions on how it works in his town, you know?
Right.
So, okay. Okay, so moving along, Central Mass Mosquito Control, so they issued their final report, and by that, I mean, they do testing, so from basically springtime to fall, until the first good frost. So they have ceased on the testing. They, of course, work year-round on clearing culverts and making sure that you know, tires, standing water, making sure culverts are clean. They do that on a year-round basis, so they'll continue to do that. Emergency preparedness. So we have, as part of our regional emergency preparedness requirements, we have an emergency dispensing site drill that we are that we have to complete by, I believe it's March of next year. Eileen and I have been in discussions with our preparedness planner that works for the region, and there have been a couple of dates that we've been trying to work through, because our emergency dispensing site is at the Auburn High School. So that was set up, and let me just give you just a quick, if by chance the town had an emergency where people were exposed to a disease that they needed medication for, and we had to medicate the entire town, we would have to have a emergency dispensing site stand up. So by stand up, I mean you have to literally be able to set up the emergency dispensing site within 24 to 48 hours, and start having people be able to come through. So the Auburn High School has been our EDS site. It has been for many years. And we've actually had drills, we've had flu clinics there, we've had a number of things in the past that you may or may not have attended. And Eileen and I, since we've been here, we are part of the emergency preparedness discussion, but we feel that part of this drill would be to engage our partners that would help us. So that would be the CERT team, the Community Emergency Response Team, led by which falls under actually the emergency manager in the fire department. We have been in contact with their supervisor, Dr. Tony Pellegrino, and he is open to assisting us for basically setting up. So it would involve bringing our trailer, our public health trailer over, bringing out the tables, setting the stations up, setting up the signage we have. So we want to make sure, I know that we can do it, but they want to see how fast we can do it. So Eileen and I have been involved in these type of preparedness drills before. It's always good to exercise. I mean, it's always good to make sure that you know where everything is. When you actually get the drill out, when you get the trailer out and you open something up, maybe something is broken and you didn't realize it and you've got to order something new, or maybe we don't have enough easel stands, so it's always a good thing to set up. We're always short on time, but you have to make time to be prepared. So, and it's part of the whole September National Preparedness Month. Eileen was able to get a bunch of materials from the state clearinghouse. So we spend a lot of time telling people to be prepared, and so we want to, obviously make sure that people have confidence that we're prepared as well. So. We have a couple of dates. I think the November date was probably going to be too tight because there's some SATs and other school school functions going on. So I think we're looking at December 9th. So we would welcome any assistance for this, and basically it's a Saturday. We're holding it at the high school, and I will confirm that date once we get confirmation from the school, but we're thinking it would take maybe a couple of hours. It's a matter of getting everybody there and then basically having one of our proctors basically time us. So again, I don't have any concern that we cannot do this. It's just a matter of how fast we could set up our resources. So it's December 9th, it's a Saturday morning, and I'm thinking we're looking at like 9 to 11, 9 to 12, worst case scenario. Honestly, I don't think it's gonna take 3 hours, but I'm thinking it might take an hour and a half.
Okay.
We're literally going to open up the trailer. We're going to pull everything that we need out. We're going to set them up in the stations, and we're going to make sure that area is conducive for having large amounts of people move through the area in a quick amount of time.
I recall, were the teachers part of the program as volunteers?
They may have been.
Right.
Yeah, they actually may have been. We have the, Tony Pellegrino has offered the CERT team to help us to move people through. It may be something that, I don't know if we can get a bunch of people there for Saturday morning.
On December 9th, on a Saturday, probably is not. It's not going to be conducive for the teachers.
Sure.
Maybe they were during the week, it might have been a Monday through Friday.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, why, are you looking for community volunteers, is that what you mean?
So we have the Board of Health, we have the CERT team, we would love for you to be there. It's more so just a visual of having everything set up.
The reason I was asking, because my husband does, we volunteer for the MRC too.
Oh, nice.
And
Yes,
so
medical
he
reserve
said
one.
that he would volunteer if
Wonderful.
you needed a community
Yeah, I mean,
volunteer.
if he
He'll come
wants to
with,
come
I
that
mean,
day,
I'll
that's
go,
fine.
I'm gonna come, but
Yeah.
you'll come with me.
Yeah, beautiful.
Okay.
Yeah, an extra set of hands
Okay.
is always welcome,
Okay,
honestly.
good. All right, we'll come.
So, we will confirm that date, but if you can at least, if you can make it, that would be wonderful. I'd love for you to be able to see, you know,
Yeah,
just
that's
the
interesting.
fact that we have a lot of resources here and we know how to use them. So it's just a matter of making sure you, obviously, if God forbid something happened with me or Eileen, that you know where to find the resources and how to use them. So that would be a great help. We're hoping to be able to do a walkthrough sometime this week. Okay, so the community health. So I wanted to just bring you an update on the vigil that we had. So the overdose awareness vigil was held last Tuesday. I can't believe it's last week. It went by quick. We had so obviously it was our first vigil. We started this planning around a conversation in collaboration with the school. The school received a youth opioid prevention grant through the Attorney General's office, and we were able to bring town and school leaders together to be able to talk about the problem that we're having, obviously with overdoses and you know, just the problems around drugs in general and people having addiction problems with drugs, alcohol, and so forth. This grant does focus on opioids, and we know that other towns have had vigils that try to bring awareness to the topic. We thought that this might be a good place to start. The school has received some grant money to do some programs throughout the next year or so for bringing awareness to not only kids in the school system, but also their parents, guardians, and the rest of the community. So there's a series of speaking engagements that are going to be by some inspirational speakers. I believe one is, I believe it's in the springtime. It's either April or May. I think it's April. So there's going to be a professional athlete, former athlete from the Boston Celtics, and he'll be speaking to the kids about his experience with drugs and having, you know, having success. Yeah, we have to open the other door. Okay. Having success and how having an addiction problem, you know, kind of took his life in a different turn. So this awareness vigil was something that we both felt very passionate about. Eileen and I have been to trainings where other towns have done this, some sort of vigil, and we actually were able to place 200 and I believe it was 226 purple flags over at the high school. Each one of those flags represented a life that was lost in 2016 in Worcester County through opioid overdose. It's pretty sobering when you look at how many flags we actually put in the ground, and actually Eileen brought up a good thing to have us reflect on, the fact that she actually met one of the mothers for somebody that had died in 2016. So to actually put the flags in earlier in the week, and then for Eileen to actually meet the mother for somebody that was there was kind of putting it together. She wanted to come to the vigil. She thought it was important, and we both think it's important to take this effort and kind of move forward. Obviously, there's a lot of education that's out there. There's resources that are out there, and we are going to do our best to try to at least make people aware of what's there. It's not something that, you know, it's not something we can do overnight. It's going to take some time, but you know, I know you both as medical professionals can, you know, guide us as well. And actually, the state has been very helpful with the amount of resources that Eileen was able to get and offer that night. And we've already have discussions going on in different community events. So we've already started to start the conversation about it. So I wanted to just let you know, we had about 100 people that came to the vigil. We had public speakers, some political dignitaries, and we also had somebody who had a personal story who lost their daughter in her adult life from this. So there were some happy threads too as part of the planning around this. We were able to involve the school kids at the high school. We had members of the Student Council, National Honor Society, and We the People government clubs to actually help us put the flags in. And so they got an understanding of what those flags meant. And it was a beautiful summer day, beautiful fall day, I'm sorry, the day that we did it. And it just, it brought a little levity to, you know, the kids being part of something positive. So just wanted to let you know we're hoping to be able to move forward and do other events surrounding it. I think that as part of our group, we all have ideas of how to move it forward. So just wanted to let you know some positive news on that. Flu clinic, we did our senior flu clinic last Thursday, and we did approximately about 70 to 75 flu shots. So we will be having a clinic for our employees. We try to vaccinate our employees to keep the our workforce going in continuity of operations. The ethics training reminder, hopefully in the packet you have have the reminder for November 28th is the board training. So that's when town council comes out and they go through all of the it's basically the board training to remind you about Robert's rules, you know, making sure that everybody is following proper protocol for the ethics commission, the open meeting law, and just everything around running a meeting. So that is going to be, it's November 28th, which is a Tuesday. And they have it right here, right in the Board of Selectmen's room. It's really, it's a really nice training. I mean,
this is the first time in many years I'm actually not scheduled to work that day.
Cool. So maybe, yeah, I'll try to remember to send something out, you know, a couple days before. But it usually lasts, I'm going to say maybe about an hour and 15 minutes or so, maybe an hour and a half. I don't think it goes that long. It's very interesting. People ask, you know, pointed questions. We have town council there. We have the town manager. We have the assistant town manager and CFO. So it's like you have 3 people that are really very experienced, excuse me, that you can ask questions on, you know, so you don't always have that that power all together, you know, that you can actually ask in open meeting. So I'll remind you again as we get closer. Office update. So I wanted to just quickly let you know we have the ad for the health inspector position. So that was posted in the past couple of weeks. We've had a number of applicants that have applied, and we're in the process of interviews right now. So we're hoping to get that position filled again. Obviously, it slows us down. You know, the momentum that we actually got the position in place, you know, was part-time, and then we went to finance and they were positive to go to full-time, and then just when that position was gonna go full-time, you know, the employee left. So we're hoping to be able to get that, hopefully before the holidays, get that position filled. We desperately need it. You know, I mean, I think you know what how busy we are. So fingers crossed. Hopefully we've got second interviews coming up in the next week or so. So farmers market schedule. We have one more farmers market coming up October 29th, which is a Sunday, and farmers market goes, is it 10? Starts at 10?
10 to 2.
So 10 to 2. They have it up at Pappas, right?
Yeah.
And they have been, I think, increasingly getting busier and busier, and it has been very well received. So please, if you're able to join us, we would love to have you. Eileen has been just fabulous about getting, each time she goes, she brings some sort of health education of something that we want to promote. We did emergency preparedness. I know we did, I think, some Lyme disease. We've got,
I was
did
there.
the rain barrels,
Yeah.
I did the
Rain barrels.
composting.
I did concussion.
You did
Yes,
concussion last
Last time.
Yeah.
I did.
So you
I
did
came
come.
after you. I
Okay,
did come.
'cause- okay.
You had left,
Yeah.
and I came.
And we left the table
Yeah,
for
she
you.
left the table,
yes.
and there were 2 bags, but people took them.
Yeah, we
The
left
last
the
2
bags, yeah.
bags. There were only 2 left, and they took the last 2 bags. Yeah, and then I stayed till
We are
12 to
aware,
2.
we do need to get a tent.
Mm-hmm.
Next year, they hope to start them earlier and do them later, and it was an extremely warm day
Oh
that day.
my goodness, it was so, but you know what, it worked out fine because Kristen was right next to me,
Right.
so I just hung with them.
And the other side was
That's awesome.
Cooper's Farm, so we were under both of their tents
Yeah,
when we
yeah,
had
so
to.
it was fine, yeah,
But we will be looking into getting
yeah,
a tent, and we have a Board of Health banner, you know, them
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
things really
yeah,
should be up,
yeah.
so
And we actually had just we used the banner at the vigil.
we did.
So we had the banner up.
Oh,
So
nice.
that banner is, I know, old because I think Andy
Yeah, but it
had
did look great.
Yeah, it did.
Like really,
So it looks
Yeah.
professional, and
Yeah,
we're
it's a
trying
nice
to.
banner.
We go to so many things, and it's like, you know, if we don't have the banner, people don't.
No.
They may know Eileen or myself, but they're not. Yeah, they work for the town, but they really don't have an understanding.
Yeah.
We want Board of Health
Oh,
there, so
absolutely.
every place we go, we're trying to put the banner up, so that
Yes.
people equate. It's not just things that
Okay.
people may be unpleasant to
Yeah.
see us, but it's also good
Right.
things too. Right. So, so good news on the farmers market. Communicable disease. This is the report from the public health nurse.
and just back on the farmer's market, they're not stopping. They're actually gonna be doing some inside at Packagug Church. Reverend Knight is working out to go through the winter.
Yeah, I
Beautiful.
saw that a few years ago.
That's actually nice. She'll have to update that like a flyer, like a winter flyer.
Yeah, he really needs to nail down what
Yeah.
it is exactly he's
Yeah.
going to do.
Right. Yeah.
Mhm.
Beautiful. Thank you. Any questions?
No.
No? Okay, thank you. And then for inspections, I know Eileen has had several of the temporary events. I know at least the most recent, I think, was the Rotor, the 5K
Rotor
race.
5K.
Oh, yeah.
So I'll let her just let you know just quickly about.
Yeah, what was the last meeting? We had the Fall Festival, it's now called Alumni Weekend, and it was a 3-day event and was very well attended. They added a pancake breakfast, so we were involved in that. And the classes got a little more involved. They did an ice cream social on Friday night, did some fried Oreos, and you know, kind of a whole array of fundraising for what they need to do. And then naturally, the fair is held on Saturday. So that was a weekend. We have the Broda 5K this past weekend. We have Auburn Youth and Family Services is coming up with a 5K. We have St. Joseph's Pasta Dinner coming up. And then we're starting with our holiday fair, which is in December, December 16th, which is why we had to pick the 9th for that date. And that's another weekend event over there. And then we go into next year's.
Yeah.
We opened up Yogurt Island. I'm not sure if I reported on that last time, but that's up in the West Side Plaza.
That's right, yes, I do have it.
Yeah, they're not serving yogurt, they're serving tea and hopefully want to go into yogurt, but adorable little place. They opened up. I'm not entirely sure what their hours are, but they're now open. And Auburn Convenience will be open in the next couple of weeks. That's at 33 Sabelle Ave.
Oh, yeah.
We've been working
Okay.
almost 2 years with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, their kitchen is 95% complete, and they're finishing up a couple pieces of equipment, and I should be in there in the next week. We should have them opened. I think that's it. We don't have any new applications for new establishments, but we're going into our renewal season, so at probably the middle of November, we'll start renewing all of our permits. So that takes Paula probably about 4 weeks to get it out, to get it back in, to get everyone permitted, and then we just work on anyone who hasn't.
Okay.
So.
Any questions?
Very good, thank you.
Awesome. So we put down for the proposed meetings, and I know we're usually pretty good with the one meeting, but I think we just hold the two just for whatever works for you guys. Any of these jump out at you?
Did you do November 13th and 27th
So that's good for me.
and December 11th?
So we have November 13th is actually the 11th is the holiday, so I think people are celebrating it maybe the Friday before.
Friday.
So we have the 13th and the 27th. The 27th is obviously, actually, where's Thanksgiving, Eileen? Is that the 23rd or the 30th?
No.
23rd.
Yeah,
Oh,
23rd.
okay. All right, so we're away from both of those weeks. Are you okay with either one of those dates? And we can send
At
out,
this point, it should be.
Me too.
okay, and we'll send it out to Eric to see
Yeah.
if he has
Yeah,
availability.
And we're at
I'm
6
okay.
now, right?
6 what?
6 o'clock works.
Yeah,
Yes.
6. Is
Yes.
that okay?
When
Yeah.
does time change? Is that,
November 4th
Okay,
or 5th. I mean, it's
Yeah.
at 2 a.m. on the 5th.
I'll be
okay,
in Arizona.
makes it easier.
Oh, okay. Fall behind. Yep. All right. Okay. All right.
All right, make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Awesome.
I vote.
All in favor? Thank you.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thanks.